In this video, I will complete Spore from the cell stage to the civilization stage on the hardest difficulty. As many of you may know, after completing 4 stages, you receive a unique philosophy based on your actions in the early stages. I chose the scientist philosophy, which requires 2 blue and 2 red cards. Watch this video until the end to see where our journey takes us. Several billion years ago, a space rock crashed onto the lifeless planet called Akku. Inside it were tiny simple life forms. And this event marked the beginning of life on the planet. One fragment of the meteor contained a herbivorous cell, which is of course our main character. And this small black blob of smile had a big appetite, quickly devouring any plants it found while trying to escape from hungry predator cells. However, that didn't always go as planned. To help the cell defend itself, 2 small spikes were added. This single-cell species was also officially given a name: Luxy. And now Luxy could stand its ground. The cell continued to feed and grow, eventually developing additional flagella for faster movement. But of course, life as a plant-eating cell was still difficult and dangerous. But luckily, one of the cells of our species managed to absorb genetic material that allowed it to consume living prey as well. From that moment on, this species became known as Luxy the trunk. With its new developed sucker mouth, the cell began to grow even faster, preying on less adaptive cells. It became larger and larger until it finally reached its peak form, gaining their first traces of intelligence. This marked the end of the primordial soup era. The entire journey took around 3 billion years, but it was certainly worth it. Our organism had evolved from a herbivore into an omnivore, and just as described in biology textbooks, creatures eventually began to leave the water and stepped onto land, including our very own species. But before stepping onto land, the appearance of the Luxy species changed dramatically underwater. Somehow they grew legs. I have no idea how that happened. And they also developed a tail with a stinger at the end, which they used to spit venom. In honor of this transformation, their name was changed to Luxy the Sting. And then the moment of truth arrived. Their departure from the ocean and the beginning of the new stage, the creature stage. After claiming their first nest, one of the species members began to exploring its surroundings. They tasted a piece of rotten meat, dug up a fragment of the body part, and who do we have here? A new species, some kind of a orange worm. Now our creature had a choice: make friends with those new neighbors or unalive them. And they chose friendship. However, when we encountered another nest, Luxy the trunk was not so kind and attacked one of the species members. Perhaps he didn't like the way they look?
Look at this dude.
He also attacked creatures that were hostile to him, and his venomous spit made them much weaker. Following all these encounters, Luxy's brain grew larger. Our little dude continued exploring the land, making allies and dealing with threats. We even invited a spiky snail to join our pack. But the farther we went from the nest, the more advanced species we encountered. It was clear as day that we needed to evolve. And it was time to evolve once again. Thanks for our fast adaptability, our species evolved swiftly. Luxy now had 2 pairs of small arms and even wings, giving him the appearance of fantasy dragon. Once again, the species was renamed, this time to Luxy the Grubber, in honor of its newly acquired hands. Now the time for migration had come. Our kind moved deeper into the continent. The journey to the new nest was challenging. At one point we had to summon round monkeys to help us to fight off aggressive bluebirds. Our newly gained wings also came in handy, allowing us to dodge an epic monster. Despite suffering losses, we reached our new home. And after such a hard journey, our brain expanded once more. On this new land, we continued to explore our surroundings, collecting new body parts, befriending with white rabbits, and wiping out a species of red forest spiders that posed a threat to our cubs. Yet we were still far from perfection. Initial species didn't find us appealing enough, while hostile ones saw us as an easy target. It was time for another transformation. Luxie grew taller, stronger, and more attractive. Just look at those sexy chin tentacles and juicy lips. In addition to flying, we gained the ability to perform high jumps, which once again led to a new name, Luxie the Jumper. And now things were much easier. We could make friends and defeat enemies with equal efficiency. And unsurprisingly, as our body grew, so did our brain. Then another evolution. Our species became even more upright, wings disappeared as a useless trait, and powerful chest muscles formed. Thus, we were renamed to the Luxie the Muscular. And so it was time for another migration. And though not on the first try, we made it to our new nest. Eventually, our kind proved superior both in forging alliances and in hunting down other creatures. And at last, our brain reached its maximum size. But before advancing to the next stage, our species had to truly look like an intelligent creatures rather than the wild animals. We're no longer just Luxie but luxuriant, a name far more grand, wouldn't you agree, guys? After millions of years of evolution and adaptation to the environment, our species was finally ready for the next stage, one where our big brains would work to our advantage. We were moving on the tribal stage. When our creatures learned to use tools and weapons, they formed a small community led by a chief. At first, life was peaceful. We gathered food, tamed animals, and made babies. But then they appeared. A new tribe. Their scout dared to steal the food our people had worked so hard to collect. Such arrogance could not be forgiven. The scout was swiftly eliminated, and our entire tribe immediately prepared for war. These naked savages put up some resistance, but we were simply stronger and smarter. Then suddenly 3 more tribes appeared. And no surprise, they were all the same species. No wonder they hated us. We had just wiped out their kin. There was no time to waste. The chief knew they would soon strike back and desperately needed to grow our numbers. Then came the moment of truth. 2 tribes attacked us at once. We were outnumbered. The chief realized we couldn't win alone, so he called for reinforcements from our allied creatures. The battle was hard, but we managed to defend ourselves. Now it was time for a counterattack. We targeted the Cyan tribe because they were the weakest after the battle. Our chief, fearless and confident, led the charge, but was surrounded and killed. His death, however, didn't break our spirit. It only fueled our rage. The Cyan tribe was wiped out. After repelling another wave of attacks, we struck again. The Green tribe fell next. We upgraded our outfits, making ourselves even more intimidating to our enemies. For the first time, we clashed with a new tribe, one far more advanced than the 4 before them. After another hard-fought victory, our warriors, still high on adrenaline, marched straight to the Pink tribe to finish them off. Now only one enemy remained, the Lavender tribe. Striking from an ambush, we took out the core of their forces. Their defenses crumbled, and we easily crushed the last hostile tribe. Gathered around the fire, our entire tribe danced and celebrated our victory. We were now the true rulers of this land. Our tribe became the strongest on the continent and grew from a village into a city. But now, a crucial question arose. On what principles would our nation be built? And the answer was clear: technocracy. Technocracy is a form of government in which decision-makers are selected based on their expertise in a given area of responsibility, particularly with regard to scientific or technical knowledge. Basically, if you're dumb and lack expertise in a technical field, you have no place in the government. Our society focused on the exact sciences. The city hall was a research center where, besides scientific studies, all major governmental decisions were made. We also built housing, an entertainment complex, and a factory. And obviously, we needed military technology to spread our influence. Our engineers came up with the perfect name for our first tank, Corpse Creator. Our species outfit evolved once again. Now we look like militarized mechanics complete with metal plate nipples. At this stage, a new key resource emerged: spice, the fuel for global conflict. And the Orange Nation was no exception. After capturing the second city, they declared war on us. Our military command knew we had to act fast. While the Orange Nation was attacking the Red Nation city, we struck from behind and then captured the city for ourselves. Next, we targeted the port city to secure our capital from constant raids. The siege was brutal and exhausting, one of the longest battles of our entire campaign, but in the end, the city fell. The worst outcome was inevitable. Despite the desperate counterattacks on our capital, their efforts were in vain. After brief resistance, their last city was taken, and the Orange Nation ceased to exist. With victory secured, our scientists and engineers developed an air force, opening up new opportunities for our expansion. Now only we remained, along with a few religious nations who despised us for the path we had chosen. Our first target was the Red Nation's port city, and we began assembling an air fleet for the assault. However, the city was heavily defended, with a powerful naval fleet stationed nearby. Breaking through their defenses wouldn't be easy, so our commanders made a bold decision: to drop a heavy bomb on the city. The remains of the fleet, horrified by the scene we had just committed, were quickly wiped out, and the city fell under our control. Or rather, what was left of it. But we had gained something far more important: a foothold for land operation on another continent. Instead of uniting against a common enemy, the Yellow and Red Nation continued fighting each other. Our command center knew this was the perfect moment. It was time to eliminate the religious nations once and for all. Seeing no point in resisting, the last remaining city willingly joined us, completing the unification of the world under our rule. And just like that, in just 4 billion years, we had evolved from a single cell into the dominant species on the planet, a civilization that placed science and knowledge above everything else. And now our kind was ready to conquer space. But that's a story for another time. Thank you for watching. Support this video if you want to see the next chapter of our species journey, this time in the space stage.